The silver-haired girl's teammates quickly gathered around her, concern written on their faces. Wanling, eyes wide with worry, leaned in. Boss, the Blood Fiend Guild is one of the biggest in the gaming world. We don't have enough people to take them on. What should we do? But the silver-haired girl stood firm, her expression determined. We won't back down, she said, her voice strong. Even if we lose, we'll show them the fighting spirit of the Moon Shadow Guild. Wanling nodded, her resolve hardening in response. The silver-haired girl glanced at the spirit falcon, still bound but struggling to break free. The real issue is the falcon. We're so close to killing it, but we can't focus on two battles at once. If we fight the Blood Fiends, the falcon will get away. Her frustration was clear, knowing that giving up on the falcon now would be a huge loss. Jinshin, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. I'll handle the falcon for you, he offered, his tone casual but confident. In exchange, I'll take a piece of the Een replenishing herb and choose one of the equipment drops. Deal? The silver-haired girl and Wanling exchanged surprised glances. His offer was unexpected, and they both knew Jinshin's reputation. Wanling hesitated before speaking up. I can have a few of our guild members stay behind to help you. Jinshin interrupted her, drawing his sword in a smooth motion, his eyes locked on the falcon. No need. I can handle it alone. As if sensing his challenge, the spirit falcon broke free from its bindings, spreading its wings wide in a threatening display. Both Wanling and the silver-haired girl were left speechless by Jinshin's confidence. Suddenly, the mocking laughter of the Blood Fiend Guild leader, the red-haired cultivator, cut through the tension. You? Handling the falcon at the Chi refining final phase? Alone? That's rich. His laughter echoed through the valley, a cruel sneer twisting his face. You're delusional. With a snap of his fingers, the red-haired leader gave the order. Blood Fiends, attack. Wipe out the Moon Shadow Guild. On his command, the Blood Fiend Guild surged forward. Their numbers were overwhelming, a chaotic wave of enemies charging with deadly intent. Wanling's voice rang out, commanding her guild to defend. Moon Shadow, hold the line. Swords clashed as the two guilds collided in a fierce struggle. Energy blasts lit up the battlefield as both sides fought with everything they had. However, the Moon Shadow Guild, outnumbered and under heavy assault, was quickly pushed back. The Blood Fiends used dirty tactics, surrounding and picking off the Moon Shadow members one by one. In no time, the Blood Fiend Guild had cornered the remaining members of Moon Shadow. A tight circle of enemies formed around them, like predators closing in for the kill. Wanling, breathing heavily, gripped her sword, her eyes darting around, searching for an opening. The silver-haired girl, staff in hand, tried to keep the Blood Fiends at bay, but it was clear that they were in trouble. The Blood Fiend leader sat arrogantly atop a rock, laughing with malicious glee. Why do you women even bother coming to Medicine Valley? Wouldn't it be easier to stay back in the beginner village? Too late now. Guess I'll send you back there myself? His maniacal laughter echoed across the valley as his crimson energy surged, casting a sinister glow over the battlefield. With a wicked smirk, he sneered at the Moon Shadow Guild, his eyes cold. This is your fate for daring to go against the Blood Fiends. Consider this your lesson. His lackeys, faces twisted with lust and greed, mirrored their leader's evil intentions. They eyed the Moon Shadow Guild like devils ready to pounce, their leader marveling at his own achievement. The game only launched a few days ago, and I've already crushed a guild. His self-satisfaction was palpable. Just then, one of the Blood Fiend lackeys pointed toward the sky. Boss, look, the first blood announcement. The Blood Fiend leader's cocky grin vanished as his eyes widened in shock. A game notification flashed across the sky. Congratulations to player Jinshin for being the first to slay a Chi refining stage boss. The announcement listed the rewards: 400 reputation points, 2 innate charisma points, and 1 achievement medal. The Blood Fiend Guild stared in disbelief, their eyes wide and their jaws practically hitting the ground. Jinshin stood calmly by the massive corpse of the spirit falcon, seemingly unaffected by the chaos. His voice cut through the tension as he called out to Wanling and the silver-haired girl. The falcon's dead. Come over, let's split the loot. Wanling and the silver-haired girl turned toward him, stunned by how effortlessly he had handled the situation. Jinshin, ever calm, glanced at the scattered treasure, as if this was all routine. On the other side, the Blood Fiend leader's face turned pale. His arrogance drained away, replaced by fury. He pointed a shaking finger at Jinshin, his voice trembling with rage. You dare steal my boss kill? You must be tired of living. His eyes blazed with hatred as he barked orders to his guild members. Kill him. If this guy can take down a chi refining boss alone, he'll be a serious threat later. Whoever kills him gets rewarded. Take his gear and ruin his leveling progress. One of his guild members, Fengshan, a body cultivator in the chi refining initial phase, smirked and lunged at Jinshan. I'll take him down. Fengshan was brimming with confidence, chi swirling around his right fist. I'm a UFC fighter in real life, and my fist carries the weight of 20 years of training. Let's see you dodge this. He roared as he unleashed a powerful punch aimed straight at Jinshan's back, fully expecting his strength to overwhelm him. But to his shock, Jinshan moved with the ease of a seasoned veteran, dodging the attack effortlessly. Fengshan stared at Jinshan in disbelief, his mind racing to comprehend how Jinshan had dodged his supposedly unbeatable attack. But before he could even process what had happened, Jinshan wasted no time. With a single, powerful sword strike, he delivered a critical hit of 545 damage. Fengshan's health bar dropped to half in an instant. Jinshan, having spent 9 years as a mage cultivator in his past life, was no stranger to sneak attacks. This weak punch? Child's play. While Fengshan stood there, eyes wide in shock, Jinshan leaped forward with ruthless precision. His sword flashed once more, slashing across Fengshan's neck. 455 damage, an instant kill. Fengshan's body collapsed as a sword burial mound appeared before Jinshan, revealing Fengshan's loot. The blood fiends watching gasped. How is this possible? That much damage, and he didn't even use a skill. One whispered, stunned. Another stammered, is he cheating? Yet another nervously murmured, this game doesn't even have cheats, right? Unfazed by their shock, Jinshan calmly collected Fengshan's loot, tossed it into his storage bag, and threw the remaining scraps to the ground. He tightened his grip on his sword, his eyes cold and sharp as he faced the blood fiends. His voice dripped with lethal intent. I didn't come here to start trouble with you, but that doesn't mean I'm afraid of you. I don't care about your guild wars. But if you come after me, you'd better be ready to face the consequences. The air grew tense as 4 blood fiends, believing they could overpower a chi refining final phase cultivator like Jinshan with their numbers, charged at him. Jinshan didn't flinch. He stood his ground, his expression unbothered. Just as they closed in, the one leading the charge hesitated. Something was wrong. Before they could react, Jinshan unleashed his martial skill, Frost Moon. His sword cut through the air with blinding speed, the first swing decapitating 2 of the attackers instantly, their health bars dropping to 0. The second swing followed swiftly, slicing through the remaining 2 blood fiends before they even realized what was happening. In seconds, all 4 lay dead, their bodies vanishing as 4 more sword burial mounds appeared. Jinshan didn't break a sweat, his sword now pulsing with a faint blue glow. He calmly wiped the blood from his blade with a practiced flick. Facing the blood fiend leader, Jinshan's voice was icy. So, what's it going to be? You still want to come after me? The blood fiend leader, visibly shaken by Jinshan's sheer power, gritted his teeth. He couldn't afford to lose any more members. With a reluctant scowl, he barked, retreat. We'll deal with him later. At his command, the blood fiends scattered, fleeing the forest in a hurry, their bravado shattered by Jinshan's overwhelming strength. The silver-haired woman approached Jinshan, clasping her hands together in a formal salute. Thank you for your help, she said sincerely. Jinshan, sheathing his sword, turned to face her. No need to thank me. It wasn't a big deal, he responded nonchalantly, brushing off the gratitude. His gaze shifted to the loot that had dropped from the Falcon boss. By the way, the boss is dead, and the loot is all here. The loot was impressive, spiritual grade, Guanjing heavy spear, in replenishing herb, spiritual grade martial technique, ice spike, spiritual grade skill, rising dragon break, and spiritual grade equipment, storm gauntlet. Jinshan then raised his hand toward the silver-haired woman. As per our agreement, the in replenishing herb belongs to me, and I get to choose one additional item. Any problem with that? His voice was calm but firm. The silver-haired woman, taken aback by the sheer volume of loot, hesitated for a moment. I've never seen a boss drop so many items, she whispered in disbelief. Wanling, standing nearby, echoed her surprise. 6 items from a single boss? What kind of insane luck is this? After a moment of awe, the silver-haired woman composed herself and approached Jinshan again. Mr. Lin Jinshan, you were the one who killed the falcon by yourself. You have every right to claim all the loot. It belongs to you. Jinshan shook his head, waving off her offer. We had a deal. You fought the falcon first, and I've already gained a lot by taking the first kill. I'll just pick one item, as we agreed. The silver-haired woman exchanged a glance with Wanling, who nodded. Wanling then opened a money transfer interface and sent a large sum to Jin Chun's account. A notification popped up on Jin Chun's screen. 5 million yuan had just been deposited into his bank account, bringing his total balance to 5.2 million yuan. Jin Chun blinked, momentarily taken aback. This woman is really loaded, he thought, his mind racing at the thought of someone so casually sending 5 million without hesitation. As Jin Chun prepared to leave, the silver-haired woman stepped forward, raising her hand for a handshake. Wait, I haven't introduced myself yet, she said with a smile. My name is Zhang Luoyu, president of Moon Shadow Guild. Jin Chun accepted the handshake, his grip firm but polite. Lin Jin Chun, a lone wanderer. For a brief moment, their eyes met, and something flickered in Jin Chun's memory. Zhang Luoyu. I've heard that name somewhere before, he thought, his brow furrowing slightly as the scene lingered. As Jin Chun focused, a flash of recognition hit him. He finally remembered. In his previous life, he had seen Zhang Luoyu's name on the rankings. She had been the second most powerful cultivator in 8 wastelands, just after him. But that wasn't even the most shocking part. Zhang Luoyu was the daughter of the richest man in Chonghai City. In the present, Jin Chun, still shaking her hand, suddenly grabbed it with both hands. Let's soak up some of that prosperity, he thought to himself, smiling inwardly. Zhang Luoyu, clearly taken aback by his sudden action, blushed, her cheeks flushed pink. Nearby, Wanling coughed awkwardly, interrupting the moment. Master Lin, that's enough. Stop taking advantage of her, she scolded, arms crossed. Jin Chun immediately released Zhang Luoyu's hand, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. Sorry. I got lost in thought just now. Didn't mean anything by it. He smiled, trying to play it off, though a hint of embarrassment showed. Zhang Luoyu, still confused, raised an eyebrow, looking at Wanling for some clarity. She had noticed that Wanling had tried to get closer to Jin Chun before, but he had always seemed uninterested. She had assumed he was just focused on his career, but now it was becoming clear. He simply didn't find her attractive enough. Jin Chun, eager to escape the situation, waved his hand casually. Well, since everything's settled, I'll take my leave. He turned and walked away, his confident yet carefree attitude leaving Zhang Luoyu and Wanling speechless. Both women watched him in silence, his charm lingering in the air. Zhang Luoyu, still blushing, closed her eyes and murmured, Your friend seems like a pretty nice person. Wanling scoffed, crossing her arms. Nice? He just blatantly took advantage of you. It's obvious he has ulterior motives. Inside, however, she was torn. What's wrong with Zhang Luoyu? She thought, frustration bubbling up. Is she also falling for him now? Zhang Luoyu turned away, refusing to meet Wanling's gaze. Don't talk nonsense about Master Lin, she scolded. As they began walking back, Zhang Luoyu changed the subject. Give a bonus of 50,000 yuan to each guild member who participated in today's battle. Consider it a celebration. While they left, another figure lurked in the shadows, Lu Xiazi, the most popular female streamer on the national server. She had been watching everything unfold quietly. As the others disappeared from view, she sighed softly. Pulling up her stream interface, Lu Xiazi raised both arms and spoke to her viewers with a playful grin. Well, folks, not only did Xiazi take you through an epic guild war today, but you also got to witness a top-tier pro player in action. Her voice was full of excitement as she continued, Don't forget to hit that follow button. Meanwhile, on Xiazi's stream screen, messages flooded the chat. Some viewers admired her beauty, while others were puzzled about the mysterious expert who just wiped out the enemies. Is that guy an NPC? He doesn't act like a normal player. One viewer quickly chimed in. Didn't you all see the server announcement? His name is Lin Jinchen. He's the one who killed the beginner village boss. As the chat buzzed with speculation, Xiazi placed both hands over her chest, gazing dreamily. Master Lin took down a boss in the final phase of chi refining with such ease. His strength is incredible and he's quite handsome too. Her cheeks flushed slightly as she gushed over Jin Chun. Then, her eyes sparkled with excitement as she made a bold declaration. To all my viewers, I'm officially declaring that Lin Jin Chun is the #1 master of 8 wastelands. She leaned forward toward the screen, her voice playful and coy. From today onwards, Lin Jin Chun is my idol. No, my crush. Meanwhile, outside the game, a man sat in front of his screen, watching the stream with growing frustration. His face twisted in anger as Xiazi praised Jinchen. He slammed his fist on the table, cursing under his breath. That damn Jinchen. Not only did he kill my guildmates and steal our boss kill, now he's trying to get famous off our backs. This man was the Blood Fiend Guildmaster, the very one whose plans Jinchen had ruined earlier in the Tsonglang Medicine Valley. His anger boiling over, the Blood Fiend Guildmaster stood up abruptly, his face dark with fury. He grabbed the vase on his desk and shattered it against the wall. Jinchen, if we cross paths again, I'll make sure you regret ever messing with the Blood Fiend Guild. His voice dripped with venom as he vowed revenge. Back in the game, Jin Shan had returned to the Tianyin sword sect to submit his completed mission. He stepped into Elder Tianqing's chamber, holding the replenishing herb. Bowing slightly, he greeted the elder. Elder Tianqing, I have completed the mission and retrieved the herb, Jin Shen reported respectfully. Elder Tianqing, clearly surprised by Jin Shan's quick return, turned to face him. That was fast. Place the herb on the table. He gave Jin Shen a once-over, his eyes narrowing slightly. You've helped this old man greatly. As promised, here is your reward. With a flick of his hand, Elder Tianqing tossed a small box toward Jin Shen. Jin Shen caught it in midair, his grip steady as he opened it. The game system chimed in, notifying him of the rewards. Spirit-grade attribute pills, 3 pills that increase a random combat attribute by 1 to 5 points. The specific attribute and amount are random. Spirit-grade harmonious wind bracelet. Increases the wearer's speed by 5%, dodge capability by 8%, and reduces body skill cooldowns by 10%. Jin Shan's eyes gleamed at the sight of the rewards, but he quickly composed himself. Thank you, great elder, he said with a polite bow. Then, Jin Shan hesitated for a moment before asking, Elder Tianqing, if I may be so bold, have you found the formula for the eternal youth pill? From his previous life, Jin Shan remembered that Elder Tianqing had tried and failed 99 times before finally crafting the eternal youth pill. A thought crossed his mind. If I give him the formula now, could I gain extra goodwill? The elder, clearly frustrated by his repeated failures, looked up at the sky with a heavy sigh. His voice held a tinge of resignation as he spoke. I've tried dozens of times, but always failed. Just then, Elder Tianqing seemed to realize something, turning sharply to Jin Shan with a suspicious look. Why do you ask, boy? Do you know something about the eternal youth pill? Jin Shan, with a casual hand under his chin, smirked and replied, I remember reading something in an old alchemy book. He paused for dramatic effect. The ingredients for the eternal youth pill: 3 grams of powdered stone, 2 feathers of a wild phoenix, 6 grains of peony flower pollen, and 3 plants of replenishing herbs. Elder Tianqing's eyes widened in utter shock. His body trembled slightly, unable to believe what he had just heard. You had such a miraculous encounter, he gasped, off filling his voice. Jin Shan played along, maintaining his calm, while Elder Tianqing, eager and desperate, quickly gathered his composure. Watch from the sidelines as I refine the eternal youth pill. Guide me if the proportions seem off. Jin Shan nodded, still maintaining his composed facade, and Elder Tianqing began the refining process. The room filled with the sounds of crackling fire and bubbling potions as the elder worked his alchemy. Minutes passed, and the pill began to condense inside the alchemy furnace. Suddenly, with a loud bang, the lid of the furnace exploded open. Both men were caught off guard. Elder Tianqing's heart sank, fearing yet another failure. Jin Shan's brows furrowed in confusion, wondering what had gone wrong this time. Then, unexpectedly, 2 pills shot out from the furnace, hovering in midair. Elder Tianqing's face lit up with joy. I did it. I've finally refined the eternal youth pill, he exclaimed, overwhelmed with happiness. Without hesitation, Elder Tianqing took one of the pills and handed it to Jin Shan. This is your reward for your invaluable help, he said with a deep bow of gratitude. Jin Shan accepted the pill, and a system notification flashed before his eyes. A Earth-grade, eternal youth pill. Increases innate charm permanently by 5 points. If gifted to the opposite sex, it increases their favorability toward you by 10 to 20 points. Jin Shan's eyes widened in disbelief. This pill, it's extremely rare. Even with the recipe, refining it would be near impossible without a 9th-grade alchemy master. He marveled at Elder Tianqing's generosity. With a deep bow, he thanked the elder. You've been most generous, great elder. I'll take my leave now. As Jin Shan turned to leave, his mind was already racing. If I gift this to my master, her favorability toward me will skyrocket. He could feel the excitement bubbling inside him, but just as he was about to rush out, Elder Tianqing called out, stopping him in his tracks. Wait! The elder's voice echoed in the chamber. Jinshin paused, turning back with curiosity. Is there something else, Elder? Elder Tianqing, his eyes gleaming with newfound interest, asked, Do you enjoy the art of alchemy, young man? Jinshin blinked, unsure of where this was leading. If you do, Elder Tianqing continued, I would like to take you in as my disciple and teach you the true art of alchemy. A game notification instantly popped up in front of Jinshan's vision. Elder Tianqing wants to accept you as his disciple. Are you willing? Jinshan stared at the notification, his thoughts racing. Why does Elder Tianqing want me as his disciple? Is it because of the formula I gave him? He hesitated for a moment, weighing his options. As Jinshan stood contemplating Elder Tianqing's offer, the atmosphere in the alchemy hall shifted. A powerful presence entered, filling the space with a commanding aura. Jinshan turned, startled, as a figure stepped through the doorway. Sect leader Long Fian herself. Her cold gaze swept across the room before landing on the elder. Do you have the heart to take away Fian's only disciple, elder? Long Fian's voice was calm, but it carried an unmistakable edge. Jinshan's heart skipped a beat, his mind spinning in confusion. Master? He gasped silently, beads of sweat forming on his brow. Why is she here? I never intended to agree to Elder Tianqing's request. I hope Master doesn't misunderstand. Elder Tianqing, clearly flustered, rubbed the back of his head awkwardly. Sect Master, you're mistaken. I have no intention of stealing your disciple. He chuckled nervously, glancing at Jinshan. It's just that your disciple is quite talented in alchemy. I admire him so much that I simply wanted to teach him the art. Long Fian's sharp eyes softened just a fraction. She nodded in acknowledgement. So, it's like that? My apologies for misunderstanding. Jinshan silently exhaled in relief, his racing heart finally calming down. Thank goodness, she's not angry. He tried to maintain his composure, wiping the sweat from his forehead. But just as he relaxed, Long Fian's voice cut through his thoughts once again. However, her tone shifted slightly, and her gaze bore down on Jinshan. Fian believes that this stubborn disciple of mine is far more talented in cultivation. She paused, her words like ice. What our sword sect needs are powerful immortals, not alchemists. Don't you agree, Uncle Tianqing? Her words pierced Jinshan like a sword, making him shudder. Why is Master looking at me like that? Is she angry with me? His heart raced once again, and he dared not meet her gaze. Elder Tianqing, sensing the tension, nodded quickly. Yes, of course, Sect Master. You're absolutely right. He let out a forced laugh. It's settled then. When Jinshan's cultivation improves, I'll be honored to teach him the art of alchemy. Long Fian's cold stare lingered on Jinshan a moment longer before she turned back to Elder Tianqing. There's no need for apologies, Uncle Tianqing. She smirked faintly. When my disciple reaches an appropriate level, I'll let him take you as his master. Jinshan's stomach dropped. Appropriate level? What does she mean by that? He gulped nervously, sensing that his master was far from pleased. Elder Tianqing, clearly eager to escape the situation, quickly excused himself. Well then, I'll get back to my alchemy. Sect Master, disciple, I'll leave you two to sort things out. With a hurried wave, he turned and disappeared from the hall. Once Elder Tianqing was gone, Long Fian shifted her full attention to Jinshan, her gaze as sharp as ever. Follow me, she ordered, her voice leaving no room for debate. There's something I need to discuss with you at my palace. Jinshan's throat went dry, beads of sweat forming once again. Yes, master, he stammered, bowing his head. As he followed her out of the hall, Jinshan couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that his master had something serious in store for him. Her words, they felt like a knife, he thought anxiously. Is she going to settle a score with me?